Now, a new book has lit up Westminster this week with some fairly damning insight about our dear leader. Get In by Gabriel, Pogrund and Patrick Maguire charts Sir Keir Starmer's astonishing election win and what has frankly been chaos ever since. And I'm delighted to say that Gabriel is joining us today all the way from floor 10, all the way from the Sunday Times. Gabriel, what is the most interesting thing we learn about what, frankly, a pretty boring guy, right? Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister. What do we learn from your book?
So I think part of what we've done in the book is we have invited our sources to say the quiet bit out loud about the Prime Minister.
That's never good, though, is it? I mean, there's some pretty damning stuff in there, right?
Well, for which reason we are possibly on the naughty step, although, I must say, there's this one line in the book which has got a bit of attention, which is Morgan McSweeney, Starmer's chief of staff.
Yeah, the sort of Svengali behind the throne, the new Dominic Cummings. Not a household name yet, but you put his name up in lights.
Yes, but perhaps after our 450-page masochistic romp through the last 5 years, he will be. But he likened the Prime Minister to an HR manager. He said he behaves like an HR manager, not a leader. And I think that, there are lots of details in the book, but I think if there is an essential theme, it is this question of, well, how political is the PM and who is driving the train? Has he been sat at the front of the DLR?
That is astonishing, though. This guy's got 411 MPs. He routed the hard left from the Labour Party. He ousted possibly the most popular Prime Minister since Thatcher in his sort of takedown of Boris Johnson. But all these questions remain. It's like, who is Keir Starmer? What does he actually want? And did he just want to win?
The thing that is actually, there's a sort of tension in Starmer, in that on one hand, people like me berate him or at least point out that he's not very political. He doesn't like the stuff of politics.
The small p, grubby, hands, the dirty stuff.
Exactly. Jerk chicken in portcullis house gossiping about who's up and who's down. The Parliamentary Labour Party. Not him. And yet he has always had this yearning to become Prime Minister. We chronicle the fact that as long ago as 2007, he was going into the Treasury canteen to meet Gordon Brown's advisors about the prospect of becoming an MP.
That was a laugh a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
But so he's always had his eyes on the prize. He's now got the train set to do what exactly? What is it? What is the driving mission of this government? And does he know yet, or is he just sort of living hand by mouth?
So, it's such an important question because at the heart of it, there is this why. And there's this moment we depict in 2020 where a left-wing MP is confronting him about his apparent shift to the right.
Yeah.
And he starts...
That would be news to some of our readers. Yeah,
indeed, yeah. In fact, I should caveat, in the eyes of John Trickett, the Socialist Campaign Group MP...
Yes, exactly. Everyone's a fascist in those guys.
But what he said that he said there's no such thing as Starmerism, and there never will be.
Starmer said that?
He said that himself.
Because we got Thatcherism, we had, to a degree, Cameronism. I'm not quite sure what it was. We had Borisism, but we certainly have Sunakism. But what is Starmerism? What is it? If he won't put a name on it. But I suppose what I'm trying to get at is who is this guy and what does he want?
It's so interesting. I think that he is a man who has been prepared to subcontract policy and politics to those around him. But there are some things on which he feels very visceral. I'll tell you a couple from the book. This might help us tease out the nuances of who and what he is. Number one, he loathed Boris.
Yeah, you could tell that. They hated each other.
He actually hates him.
And that was what, a privileged thing? Was it the old Etonian who's made it look easy while Starmer's, frankly, has come up the hard way? He's had to struggle for his art and he got there and he worked hard. Was it deeper than that?
I think that I'm not accepting the premise, but as Starmer saw it, I believe it was a case of, I just can't believe he gets to lie at the dispatch box and I have to take it and I have to take being mocked. And people did use that word, hate. That it literally was
Captain
visceral.
Hindsight, Mr. Flipperoonie, Bollard,
all that.
That hurt then, it hurt him.
And it hurt. And you could see it with the clenched jaw and, he hates
Do you not want to see it? I think sometimes I want to shake Keir Starmer because actually you've met him, our readers and our viewers haven't. But in person, he's actually a bit more passionate. And he's actually a bit, he shows his emotion. Then as soon as the camera's there, or he's in the sort of courtroom of the public eye, he clams up. I want to just shake him a bit.
It's quite right. I mean, we may come on to his voice coach because like
well, no, we will, because the internet is awash with rumours, which you're going to either confirm or deny.
Okay, well, I'll do my best. But, you know, he has himself acknowledged that's a weakness. I mean, the other one episode I wanted to just alert your viewers to was Israel. We were leaked a huge WhatsApp of all the internal correspondence after October the 7th, depicting how his officials responded to that. And David Lammy was bemoaning the fact that Emily Thornberry, in his words, had received a real roasting on Newsnight the previous night. They're all saying, we've got to shift. There's no way you can get away with just backing Israel indefinitely. And actually, it was one of those moments where, you know, speaking to those around Starmer, that emanated from him. He felt on a moral level, he had to stand by the Jewish state and by the US.
And he took a lot of shit for it, right?
And he had arrows in his back by the end. And there is a resilience to him. You know, there are moments where you get flashes of that conviction politician across Boris at the dispatch box after October the 7th, where Mr. Bollard is...
Is it enough, though? Is he going to be a sort of stopgap in the great story of British politics where this sort of accidental PM wins? Or will he one day, you know, be the leader that, you know, he clearly wants to be?
You know, Tony Blair told us, we went and saw him for the book.
How is he?
He was very
He won't come on Never Mind The Ballots, so we need to get him on. If you can send him a message.
Well, where's the camera?
Yeah, Tony next time you should be sitting there. Yeah.
I think now I've said it, it's never going to happen. But he said that there's this idea that Starmer might be a little like Neil Kinnock, having gone from the left to the centre. But Blair says actually Starmer only started out being vaguely left-wing. In other words,
left-wing.
He's never going to... He came from not left to centre, but possibly from semi-nowhere to centre. And some people would say, that's great, I don't need politicians that tattoo their politics to their forehead. Others would say, how could you possibly be a Prime Minister like that? But I do think that it might be his Achilles heel at times and his strength in others, that he is not actually ever tied to one given position or ism. I think Tom Baldwin, his biographer, has described him as being like a barrister.
I think is a kind way of describing that. But I'd say hagiography, but we'll leave that aside. But
you're talking about a former Times man.
You know, Times colleagues are always very loyal to me. Right, look, I'm going to ask you the question. You know Keir Starmer better than most people. There is a rumour going around that he used to be, back in the day, quite the swordsman. A sort of Lothario of the legal world. Used to, you know, there's rumours that Bridget Jones's Mark Darcy was based on him. And there's always just been a bit of a twinkle in the eye, shall we say. Now, this voice coach stuff, let's just rule this out. The internet is awash with rumours that it might be something more than just a friendship. Is that true?
Look, I don't want to be too sober. I know that my constitutional role is to be mischievous, but in this instance, I'm going to say I've never heard anything to deviate from the idea that she was, in actual fact, just his voice.
So she's a sort of, you know, she's got quite a fruity past. She was married to a sort of soft porn actor. She's quite, you know, she's interesting, she's fun. Why they sort of tried to, you know, Captain Hindsight, Mr. Boring, the Bollard, got her in to just try and liven him up a bit?
She used the word. I spoke to her. She said that he was wooden. And
wooden?
He brought her along to an event where he delivered a speech to party members.
I mean, we've all seen it. I mean, he's not exactly like set the world alight.
And she said that. She was like, that was basically crap. And he looked suitably chastened. And I think after he recovered his composure, maybe the following day, he said, actually, well, I need somebody that can say that to me and tell me what I can do to become.
And so she was almost like sort of part like counsellor, part like sort of coach. When he says, I desperately needed my voice coach to be there at my side, you know, when I was responding to a great big story, which was Brexit, Boris Johnson's Brexit deal, Christmas Eve, 2020. It was not less, he wasn't just doing, you know, la 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 la, like sort of vocal exercises. It was more like...
He sells, she sells.
Exactly. Easy for you to say. It was more like almost a crutch.
Honestly, I will say that we didn't have a sniff of this story until...
Did you know you were sitting on a massive lockdown scoop? Or
Firstly, no idea. It's humiliating that our best story was wholly accidental, but I didn't know how her sheer degree of proximity to him. Like, for 5 years, she was giving him communications advice there for all the conferences.
I mean, that must be a hell of a relationship, though. It's almost, you know, it will one day end up being a sort of James Graham play, I imagine. You know, sort of like Maggie and Brian, what was the one they're doing at the moment. Like, you know, she must see up close, you know, the Prime Minister in a way that no one else does. It's a very incredibly intimate relationship. I'm not just stirring the internet rumours there, but it is quite something, right?
It is. I mean, I'll tell you what, there's a little bit of precedent here. Margaret Thatcher sought the advice of Laurence Olivier. It's happened. But what I don't think has happened is that idea that for half a decade you would seek the counsel and support of somebody. Something as it is intimate, how you communicate, how you talk to the world. And she said that you said something as well, which is that when you meet him and interact with him off camera, he seems much more normal and approachable than
quite blokey in a way. Like.
Quite blokey. People say that he's blokey. He plays fight. He actually. How many politicians have fallen foul of being asked what their football team is? Cameron with West Ham versus Aston Villa. Tony Blair pretended to support Newcastle. Keir actually likes football. He has a blokey side. Having an IPA at his favourite pub in Kentish Town.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a beer with him, and the first one doesn't touch the sides. Like it's just,
and he has that.
You don't see that.
You don't see it, and he knew that, and so he said to somebody, "I want you to help me achieve that." I'm sure.
Fascinating. Gabriel, I'm going to have to let you go back upstairs because you've got Sunday Times to write. You write most of it. Look, how does it work? I mean, I wrote a very short-lived tome about Liz Truss, but we got that book out very quickly. How does it work though when you're sitting there? You've obviously been spending more than a year, 2 years writing this book. Was there anything in the book you're like, I need to crash this into the paper? And has your editor come back and said, hang on, if you knew about that ages ago, why wasn't that on the front page?
What the F with it? Well, there are a few conspiracy theorists who've said, how did you bury that when it would have been in massive public interest at the time? I mean, what I'd say is, as you know, you're an author, you speak to people in certain terms. And one term...
Well, we had sort of book terms and paper terms.
Yes. So, for instance, a lot of our reporting on Wahid Ali last year, the passes for glasses business.
This mysterious donor that doesn't want anything, but then turns out he does actually change policy. So,
exactly. So a lot of that, was the byproduct of conversations about, well, who runs the party for the book.
Yeah.
But then there were things where people say, well, I'm, not meeting you for Diet Coke and pints so that you can put this in a paper tomorrow. And if you did that, I won't talk to you. Yeah,
got you. Well, it's tricky. Book's out Thursday. Get in. Patrick Maguire, we should mention, who was meant to be sitting there, but he's, I think, doing something else. But Patrick Maguire, Gabriel Pogrund, get in, out Thursday. No shagging, but everything about Keir Starmer you've ever wanted to know, right?
Absolutely.
Gabriel, good luck. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.